The medical world has M&Ms, morbidity and mortality discussions, to examine where they went wrong, the underlying issues and what they've learnt from their mistakes. You know, besides killing you. Welcome to the SME TV version of M&M, or perhaps D&M is more precise. This isn't about any one business or product. It's about the environment and conditions that influence and impact the economy, the market, consumers, profit. It's business, but different. It's me plus one. So what's on the agenda? Well, it's not so much what, but who I talk about it with. So basically we're going to wing it. I'm thinking we might start with fragmentation of purchasing power and the extinction of the mass audience. Who's going where and why? Because things have changed. We might bring trust into it, see what conclusions we draw and where it takes us. And by us, I mean me and our guest, Matthew Wong, serial company scaler, a man who prioritises innovation, ideation and excellence because he says life is too short and fragile to be anything less than extraordinary. He's also the outspoken host of Discernable. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, Angela. Pleasure to be here.
So this is you and I turning the tables on each other, right?
Is it?
It is. It is, because you host Discernable and speak to people, and it's a long format interview. I host SME TV, shorter format, strictly business and topics. Yours are much more varied, and you've interviewed me, but this isn't an interview about you. This is an educated adult discussion on business stuff, right?
Well, exactly what we're doing right now is a proof of the segmentation we've seen in the media landscape, really in the information landscape, with the rise of obviously technology. That's an old argument to make, but there is clearly a hunger out there for what we're providing. And the fragmentation that we're about to talk about has already happened in media, but I think it's also happening in business.
You've also seen, though, a lot of your pieces, a lot of your content go viral for lots of different reasons. How do you see that influencing the way smaller media outlets like us, the way we might produce content and what we're aiming for? Because the pieces that have gone viral for you weren't intentional.
No, we're talking about tight feedback loops, aren't we? So you have to go no further than Zara fashion. So we all know the case study of the business Zara that pretty much cemented this idea of fast fashion, where you can go into a Zara store and you can give feedback through the staff in that store. And within, I think they've reduced their cycle times down to, I can't remember the number, a matter of weeks, where a normal fashion cycle would be months. And we could have a new piece on the floor of that store in, say, 10 weeks time or 6 weeks time, taking into account the feedback from that consumer. So the shortening of these feedback cycles is what technology is allowing us to do, which is the same concept behind Internet of Things, which is putting sensors in everything, right? Your fridge can tell you when you're low on milk and can tell you when there's a special at Coles. So in the same way in media...
or if you're getting fat, apparently, so...
I wish it could. It didn't give me a warning when I was getting fat. But the same thing in media when you ask me about viral pieces. It's correct. Yep. You don't know what's going to go viral. In fact, my entire channel started on business. I wanted to talk about, Herzberg's hygiene factors or sunk cost fallacies or what have you. And then quickly now, due to the market saying what they really wanted from me is a trustworthy news source. And so that's what we do because of that fast feedback loop.
So in terms of what we're doing, why are you doing Discernable? I know why I'm doing SME TV, but why are you now focusing on Discernable?
I thought we weren't going to go too biographic, Angela, but I started Discernable...
No, I'm just talking about the product, the business, not personal. Yeah.
Okay, so I saw a gap in the market where people weren't providing a connection between... Well, I started on business and people were not translating business concepts in a relatable and friendly way. They were doing it through comedy a little bit, but no one was really talking to the layman. So we have, L&D environments and big corporates and people doing MBAs, and I've done that, but no one was talking to the small blinds business down the road, which is, what SME TV, about small business, right? No one's talking to block out blinds down here in Melbourne and saying, look, here's some principles from strategic HR management. This is what you can deploy in your business. So I was trying to bring that to the small business market. And I guess really I was trying to be helpful. So I would take my lessons from big corporate. I've worked in different places in my study. So now I do that with media. I try and take the big concepts from politicians or professors that I interview, and I try and translate that into the everyday citizen out there of Australia, and hopefully with a bit of humor along the way.
So if we look at how the market's quite fragmented, and you know, when I was doing a little bit of very, very superficial research online, apparently the fragmentation of the mass audience has been going on for a long time, but 15 years ago that wasn't the case. It was standard, templated, step 1, 2 and 3 will get you this result. That's where the people are. You spend your money advertising in newspapers, magazines, radio, TV, and you will get this result.
It's strange
that's no longer the case.
No, of course. Well, it's strange to me that the eyeballs always move before the big money. Of course, institutional investment and so on is slow. But there's this big lag of years. So if you follow someone, say like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's big on marketing, he tells all stories where he'll sit down with executives of brands and they're like 3 to 5 years behind the eyeballs. They're still sinking money into TV commercials and mass marketing. And if you think about the way that our markets have fragmented into ever smaller segments. So, you know, traditionally we'd segment a market and then we try and differentiate our product to each target segment. But as they fracture into ever smaller segments, the question becomes, how do you be everything to everyone? And I don't think that's possible. And so the old adages of, you know, the 4 Ps of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. Product, price, place, and promotion.
The 4 Ps.
That is all. The 4 Ps. That is lacking now, because from everything I've seen and read, even from academic literature, which is a bit behind usually, they're saying we need to focus less on product differentiation towards different target segments and focus more on distinctive brand profiles, like brand assets. What makes you you? And that translates across to multiple different segments.
It's the story. So it's the creative about articulating supposedly what the brand stands for or what it can do or what its social alignments are. We've become very touchy-feely to minority audiences.
But it's not just touchy-feely as well. You've got to consider the mass commoditisation of things. So, you know, if you think about products that you may have now, like the Dollar Shave Club, right? That's a commodity, a shaver, a razor blade. So much of our world is being commoditized. You know, we've got China in the last 30 years of doing that to us. And the only thing remaining when you've got a fully commoditized market is brand, like the Dollar Shave Club. So when you buy the Dollar Shave Club, there is a price positioning, yes. There's a convenience positioning, yes. But there is also a brand associated with it. There's a reason why I wear Lululemon jackets. It's not just because it's nice fabric. It says something about who I am to the people who see me. That is more important than ever right now, brand.
I did not know that you wore Lululemon jackets.
I met with Bill Lang.
I did not see you as a Lululemon jacket.
I met with Bill Lang from Small Business Australia, and he always pays out these Lululemon wearing mummies and whatever. That's how he segments that market. That's my target market with Discernible. So I went to this meeting with him fully head to toe Lululemon, except for my shoes, pants, everything. And he didn't say anything. I was really annoyed. So I'm a big fan of Lululemon.
Or...
Didn't notice. I was wearing leggings and he didn't even mention anything. Anyway.
Do you have photos? Matt, let's just hang here for a second. Do you have photos of that? Of you in the leggings? Are you going to send that so we can put that in the interview?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well,
but they're a great brand study.
Yeah.
Lululemon's a great brand.
So, okay, but you're talking about brand. So is that it? Is that the fragmentation of purchasing power now? It's got to be associated with brand? Is that how we identify the consumer? Make them appeal to the brand?
Well, that's just my little theory, and I'm a tiny little, I've only ever had small businesses. That's my theory on how to get around this. And that's Gary Vaynerchuk's theory with VaynerMedia and the other people he consults to, is to move to brand as markets become commoditized and as purchasing power gets fragmented. You and I talked about this off air about Harley Davidson, where traditionally you can follow your demographic throughout its so you can follow your target audience throughout demographic changes. And that's how we used to segment markets, right? So we'd segment based on like demographics and even psychographics. So psychographics being lifestyle factors like Lululemon, right? These people want to be active and seem to be active. But we've never been in a better position now to focus on behavioral segmentation, which is something that people like Harley Davidson are having to move towards, because Harley Davidson started with a particular market in the 40s and 50s, whenever they were born. Then as they aged up, you can see the product line more moving towards that demographics needs as they age. So when they were quite old in the 2000s, Harley Davidson had more of that life insurance and end of life type products associated with their branding alliances, because their audience, their market had moved, the baby boomers had moved in age. But we can't do that anymore because
we can't follow. A brand can't rely on that, right? Following someone from their generations and assuming that they're going to be loyal and following them. And then what do, Matthew? Do they start again appealing to that younger generation?
That's what I've been curious about with Harley Davidson. Do they just try and be really hip and get the Gen Zs, get some electric scooters or something? And they have got electric bikes. But what I've noticed in their marketing shift is, instead of appealing to a sense of tribe, that demographic cohort of Gen Z, they focus on behavior. So they do aspirational things like not just who do you want to be, associate yourself with this brand. It's more like, where are you? What are you doing? And how can we target you? And that's why Facebook ads and all the new technologies we have are great, just like the Internet of Things. They allow us to measure the behavior of a market. And then you can target, instead of, here's my market split into age groups, I'll split it into people who visit websites more than 5 times a day and people who don't visit websites more than whatever. And so I'm measuring behavior, and then I'm creating my marketing collateral targeted towards that behavior. I think that is far more powerful, because the fact that I'm taking an action, a behavior, says a lot. You can read, nobody reads, surveys don't mean anything, right? It's what people do with their money at the end of the day. It's the behavior, it's their actions. So if we can measure their behavior, measure their actions, and then craft our segmentation and targeting and then marketing towards behaviors, I think we'll absolutely win. So when you look at, sorry, I'm just smashing.
No. I want you to do that
right now. I'm just passionate. If with my shows, the People's Project and Discernible interviews, people only see the content. They think, okay, he's seen his market and he thinks that's what they want, and so he's providing a certain type of show to the market. I'm actually thinking a lot deeper than that. I'm thinking about how people watch, why people watch, when they drop off on my videos. And so I'm trying to be very strategic and very sneaky the way we build our shows. So I think about how we make people feel in the first quarter of the show deliberately, because I know the drop off happens and they probably come back to it later based on the number of views versus the number of unique views. I'm trying to measure the repeat views. So I know that when they come back the second time, that I need to give them a certain emotional journey that they didn't get in the first quarter of the video. I'm giving a different thing in the second quarter of the video. So that kind of...
It's safe to say, though, that you're relying on the actual data, the real information that you can measure.
Yep.
In order to, and that's how you plan your content, based on what's happened.
Yeah, well, we've never been able to do this before.
No.
But thanks to these fast feedback loops, I can be Zara fashion for media.
Well, that's something to aspire to, along with your Lululemon jacket.
They make the best soft materials. Seriously, guys and girls, check them out.
You're not going to believe this. We have actually literally run out of time.
Sorry to just blow through it with...
No. I wanted that. And what I wanted to do was to be able to have these intense discussions around different topics that are impacting the way everyone does things, why they do them. Things are so fragmented now that it is literally impossible to do anything the way you did it even yesterday sometimes. That we're having to just refocus. Maybe that's why smaller companies not only just more agile and able to pivot quickly, but because we do have time to ponder it and the time that it takes us to think about it, make the decision, we can do it, Matthew, whereas there's, bigger organisations with so many of those other layers in between, they can't.
Yeah, although Google do it very, very well. The big tech guys, they spearheaded this behavioural measurement. But
that's what they've got all the money in the algorithms and the behind the scenes stuff. They only have one little graphic. We can do it too.
We can do it too. And we can focus on brand and stand out from the pack. That's how we do it.
Well, that's what we'll do. Okay, so run out of time. Next step. Big thank you to Piedmont Studios for making us look and sound good. To the SMEA Association, thank you for your support, because without you, we wouldn't be here to have these discussions. And of course, if you have any tips, tricks, comments or stories, you can send them straight to me, news@smea.org.au. We're across all the socials. Thank you very much, Mr. Wong, for joining us. I'll look forward to the next episode of Discernible too.
Bye.